Thanks, Colton. Good morning. Welcome to the Board of Nursing Education Committee. My name is Amy Height. I'm serving as chair. I just wanted to take a minute before we get started to assure we do have a quorum. And we have Michelle Terry. She is online, unfortunately unable to be here with us, but she will be voting from Zoom and I can see her. So,
And Michelle Haley.
oh, and Michelle Haley. Sorry about that. Hi, Michelle. Michelle. We do have two new members to the Education Committee, so I thought I would let them introduce themselves. So we're excited to have you on the Education Committee. And when I say new, I feel like Karen and I've known each other for a while, and she's been on and off different boards. So if you want to take just a moment to introduce yourself, Karen.
I'm Karen Kidder from the University of St. Mary. I'm the chair of the nursing division there.
Thank you. We appreciate you serving on education with us. And we also have one other new member, Angela Murray.
Yes, I'm Angela Murray and I'm with Fort Hays Tech North Central, new member today.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We do not have an on-site packet, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, then we will go down to additions or revisions to the agenda.
And we do have a couple of those. We need to add in reapproval of the nursing programs because we moved the annual report to this meeting. That's when we usually do the reapprovals, is after we look at the annual report. So that will happen this time and forgot to put it on the agenda.
So reapproval.
Yeah, and if we could put that after the review of the annual report under new business.
Okay.
And then the other item we just like to revise where it is we have a site visit report from Fort Scott. And they also are on the agenda for an update, so we just like to move that up and put those two together in whatever order you all would like to. Whether hear the update first and then the report, or do the report and then the update, so that's up to you all. Where you want that on the.
How would the committee like to do that?
Probably do them together.
Together,
Okay.
if that's okay. So we'll move that to the site visit.
Right. It's under, yeah, 7B.
Okay. Okay, so a few amendments. Any other additions or amendments for our agenda? Okay, do I hear a motion with the amendments?
I approve. I'm wishing to approve.
So Kidder. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ruth. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. And the two online, did you have your hands up? Okay, thank you. And, anyone abstain? Okay, the motion carries for the agenda. Okay, next we need to look at our minutes from the September 10th meeting as written. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the September amendments?
This is Debbie Pyle. I move to approve the September 10th, 2024 Education Committee minutes as written.
Thank you, Debbie. A second?
Angela Murray, second.
Thank you, Angela. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstentions? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. And I did go out of order slightly and forgot announcements. So we will do announcements now.
I don't believe we had any other than new members, and since you've already done that, at least from my, I don't think we had anything else.
Okay, then we will move on to our agenda. Consent items, nursing education staff report. As you probably noticed, the staff report looks slightly different. It goes along with the strategic plan, both Carol's and Janelle's. Would you like to discuss anything on your staff report?
Unless anybody, since it's under consent agenda, that's a new thing as well, but unless anybody has anything they really want to discuss on it, it'll just be part of the approval for the consent agenda. So unless anybody has specific questions about the report. Otherwise, we'll just leave it in there.
Okay, so the other consent agenda items include our 2025 site visit schedule, a petition, and the draft regulations, right, that we did last time we met. So they're all on the consent agenda.
Right. Unless anybody wants to for discussion.
Okay, would we like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent item agenda, which includes the nursing education staff report, the 2025 site visit schedule, the petition summary 8/13/24 through 11/15/24, and the draft regulation review approval KAR 60-17-101, 60-17-102, 60-17-103, 60-17-104, and 60-17-105.
Thank you, Ruth.
A second.
Karen, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Okay. We are gonna move on to our site visit reports. And do we have any representatives from Emporia? Online or here?
We have both, site visits here.
Okay, do the site visitors, if we have any questions. Moving down. We get to it.
Page 31 of the committee packet is where the recommendations are. Just while you're looking at that visit was done by Debbie Pyle and myself. In September 4th through 6th, we did that visit along with Jason.
So the recommendation is listed there.
And just to note, they did already send me the updated policy on English language proficiency. So that has already been taken care of. And there was just one other besides the recommendation to. Unless you have questions.
Any questions about the Emporia site visitor recommendation? I can entertain a motion if someone would like.
This is Debbie Pyle. I'll move to accept the site visit report with recommendations for the Emporia State University BSN program for the time period of national accreditation.
Thank you, Ruth. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about Emporia? All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to our next site visit, which is the Fort Scott, and I think we have representatives. Yeah. Oh, sure. Good morning.
Hi,
Thank you for coming up to see us.
thank you for allowing us to be here.
You're welcome. If you'd like to take a moment to introduce yourself,
Sure.
your name and your role at Fort Scott.
Okay, I'm Vicki Lader, Interim Director of Nursing. I'm Sonia Gugnani, I'm the Vice President of Academic Affairs. And I'm Sarah Sutton, Interim President.
Thank you for
So
coming.
as you can see, I have a lot of support from my college, and I'm really glad that they're here with me today. If it's okay, I would like to give you a current update on the past site visit that we had in September. Many things have changed. Many things have been updated. So just to start with, I would like to just go down the list of things that we've accomplished in the last month. So, the need to cease admissions for advanced standing LPN to RN tracks, until it can be determined if the track was actually approved. And if the currently being managed and approved curriculum for the ADM program. Bill Rhodes, our former director, had communication regarding the starting of the LPN transition course in March of 2013. The LPN bridge class was actually discontinued in 2020. The current data indicates that the LPNs have been successful without this transition course. So we have revised the policy for the LPN admissions, and it was done November of 2024. Currently approved for one class of 20 in fall of 2024, but the website and handbooks all stated that the admissions was be for fall and spring, and that was not approved. So the website has reflected that the next cohort admission is pending approval by KSBN, and the website information, student handbook, and it all has been updated. Need to update faculty job descriptions with appropriate language from the KNPA. MSN is required for ADN faculty teaching theory, and the MSN or BSN with a degree plan to obtain the appropriate degree is required for clinical faculty. We need to update the job descriptions and submit it to the education compliance officer by March of 31. And those descriptions, faculty job descriptions, have been updated and revised as of December of 24. Submit the policy and procedure for orientation of new faculty, part-time, full-time, and adjunct. We're currently in the process of this. New checklists have been developed, and policy will be reviewed in December. Ensure that the process to document orientation, that it's confirmed by faculty, which is signed and kept on the faculty file. Submit it to the education compliance officer by March of 2025. I have one full-time orientation record that's complete. I have full-time, part-time, and adjunct clinical faculty orientation records. They are in the process of being completed, and my target date for that is December 19th. So that should be done by the time we leave for this semester. Checklist will also be forwarded to the education compliance officer and placed in our file. Submit evidence of preceptor orientation for the fall of 2024 preceptors by December 31st. That has been complete, and I believe at the time that KSBN was at our facility, we were in the process of getting our capstone program up and running with the 4-semester students. So we have completed that for this semester. All the preceptor files are completed, so that's in our file, and that's been submitted to now. Syllabi need to all show clinical hours and breakdown of observation, simulation, and precepted hours. Submit the syllabi for the clinical hours with updated information prior to the next semester. We have, that has been revised to reflect the number of observation, simulation, and precepted experience, and those have all been updated and ready.
And I will just make a small note here, Vicki, that I did receive a packet, but it was last week, and it was too late to get anything in on site or to be reviewed. So since all this is still pending, I just want to know that I did get that packet, and we'll be reviewing those as well.
Thank you. It's been a very busy month.
It has.
Submit evidence that information regarding possible licensure disqualification under KSA 65-1120 is provided for students prior to admission to the nursing program. Submit prior to the next cohort admission, and the licensure qualifications handout has been revised. It is on the website, in the student handbook, and in the admission packet. We got that completed. Submit evidence of curriculum review by faculty, policy and procedure for how the curriculum review is planned for and implemented, and include how outcomes are reviewed, are communicated, and how they're documented. Submit the policy and evidence to KSBN by June 30th. We will be working on this with our faculty in December and January. It has been revised to include the activities related to the ASIN accreditation and KSBN regulations. So we will have that completed. Need to clean up the documentation regarding combined theory and clinical courses. Degree plan and handbook information should be clear when the class is a combined class, and how many theory hours and how many clinical hours each of them have. Submit updates to the education compliance officer before the next cohort admission. The syllabi has been revised to reflect the above. Plan of study is on the website. The student handbook, marketing materials, they have all been revised to reflect the breakout of didactic and clinical hours and clinical credit hours. Submit a written test policy with processes to include test analysis, test development procedure for all faculty. Submit policy and process to the education compliance officer by March of 2025. We are also working on this in December, January, and then we're going to be working on faculty development of testing, item analysis, item writing, and policy revision. Policies related to admission, generic, transfer, and LPN students have been revised for clarity. Policy for progression, dismissal, readmission, and leave of absence have all been revised for clarity. And then the complete revision of the student handbook is underway. We are moving along very quickly on that. And then the last thing I would like to talk with you about is our NCLEX pass rates. They are increasing. The faculty development that we are planning on doing, and that would include test writing, statistical analysis of items. We have purchased the mountain measurements data to inform decision to help us with the decision for testing, improvement, and curriculum. We'll be introducing test taking strategies for the students at each level. And then our pass rate at this time for 2024 is 14 out of 15 pass rate. So 93.33.
Thank you, Vicki. A lot of information. And as Janelle said, the packet she received, it was last week, so the board has, or the committee has not had a chance to review that.
Basically, the same
Yeah.
information.
We understand that and we appreciate it. I mean,
Yes.
there was a lot of work
Yes.
which we have done and we were trying to get all the information to the board members. I know, and Janelle told us that, yes, it's not gonna be possible, but I'm glad we had the opportunity to give you guys an update and it's the same information we have sent it to Janelle in that packet, so hopefully.
And, you know, just the reminder again that those recommendations are not yet approved by this committee. They
Yeah,
are part of the
sure,
report, so
yes.
there is still opportunity. We've
Absolutely.
gotten some of this done ahead
Yes.
of time.
But we wanted to start working on that
Absolutely.
as soon as possible, so yeah.
Any update in terms of the recommendations from the focused audit? Or we, the ones that were previous to? It's
This
okay if
visit?
they're not, yeah,
Previous to this visit.
right.
Yes, we are still working on it, and I think that's what, and I think we have told Janelle that we have hired a consultant to make sure to guide us in the right direction, because we are willing to put in the work, but we wanted to make sure what we are doing is the right way to do it. So we are focusing on in terms of what was needed to be done by this board meeting. So we kind of prioritize that. That's why even with the SPE, we focused on 1 through 4 criterion, and 5 takes a lot of time, which we need to do it for ASIN and KSP, and so we thought we would do that in spring. And to answer your question, yes, we are looking at previous recommendations from previous focus visit and working on those as well.
No, that was an appropriate question. Do the committee members have questions regarding the recommendations or any updates from Fort Scott Community College?
That was very thorough.
Yes, you have been very busy. Any updates that you can share with us as far as initial or the site visit report from ASIN, what their recommendation was?
We received the report just last week.
Yes.
We still need to do the review and send back their response within 4 weeks. But they haven't sent any recommendation
Yeah.
to us.
Nothing. It's basically on criterion 5, that's what they gave us in terms of what they observed. Nothing, we did meet with ASIN on one of the sub-criterion, which was the overall passing rates, because that's what their thing was, and we calculated them and provide them that data. And that one, that was again calculated differently, And it was 92 point some percent, so they were okay with that, and they said we can keep working on the other ones, well, till the April meeting. And I think we have to provide a response. There was no recommendation so far yet, so just working on the response, which we have to send it to them and then.
Okay. Any additional questions? Yes, and on number 14. Is the board, it is on page 48 of the site packet. The Education Committee, number 14. With the recommendation of a site visit. If we want to make any changes to that, or if we want to keep that as currently stated.
I move to accept the site visit report with recommendations for continued conditional approval of Fort Scott Community College ADN program to cease admissions to the program until all recommendations have been addressed and board has given approval and a site visit to be completed prior to approval to restart admissions.
Thank you. Second. I'll second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed, no. Abstentions. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, a lot of work accomplished and we appreciate that and still more work to come. But
Yes.
you are moving in the right direction and appreciate that you have the consultant as well. Okay. Going to move forward now to our next site visit, which is WSU Tech's ADN follow-up after first graduation. Do we have any?
And just a quick note, I got a note yesterday, they will not be here, but they are online. If we have any questions, they can be available to answer them for you.
Hang on.
Page 49, if you're looking for it.
Page 49 are the recommendations.
Oh, that's the first part.
Okay,
The
yes.
recommendations are on,
62, yes.
this was a follow-up after first graduation visit. So they had their first graduating classes and we were finishing up. So this is the end of the initial approval process.
Do you have any questions that we would need them?
I move to accept the site visit report with recommendations for WSU Tech ADN program, which approval for 5 years.
Thank you, Angela. A second. Second, Sandra Karen. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstentions. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. We will move on to Southwestern College BF and initial site visit. We have representatives here. Thank you for coming this morning. If you'll take a moment to introduce yourselves.
Absolutely. I'm Shauna Turner. I'm the Director of Nursing Education at Southwestern.
J.K. Campbell, the Vice President of Academic Affairs.
Thank you for coming. If there's anything you want to discuss or share with us as we go through the report, the recommendations, or if you have any questions.
I might just mention, I did also get an update from Shauna. So you might want to just let them know what you've done related to that recommendation.
Absolutely. On the recommendations, we had via Christie contract that needed to be updated. And we received that yesterday, so that's being signed and will be available. The other is the testing policy, which I've shared with Janelle. That now includes test development and test student, I'm sorry. The test development, this question development, and all of that policy that's required within that, so. And test security.
Excellent, thank you. And the recommendations are on page 70. Any other questions?
I move to accept the initial site visit report for Southwestern College with approval to admit 20 students annually beginning fall 2025, with the site visit to be done after the first graduation.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Do we have a second?
1 second.
Thank you, Ruth. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Abstentions. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Moving on, to major curriculum change from Barton Community College. Renee. We'll get. Yes. Good morning. Thank you for coming. If you would like to introduce yourself for the committee.
Sure. Renee Skelton, Director of Nursing Education at Barton Community College. And I have 2 faculty online if you have any questions for them.
That's right.
Okay.
And Colton, I think I sent you that. You should have the names. Thumbs up. All right.
And then, the start of this is on page 71. For the major curriculum change. in our
There they are.
program. Would you like to discuss it, Renee?
Sure. So 2 years ago in our associate degree program, we put RN Leadership and Management online. Had great response from students. They liked the flexibility of being able to do that when it fit their schedule. So at the practical nursing level, we took a look at the curriculum and we chose Mental Health 1 as our first pilot to put online. Faculty were not 100% behind doing a clinical course, online. So we chose Mental Health 1. Students have general psych and developmental psych as prereqs coming into that. The majority of our students take their prerequisites in the online format. They're familiar with it, they like it. So we're gonna pilot Mental Health 1, see how that goes. And then we considered our gerontology course and our PM leadership course as future options. And those 2 are working to develop it. We're working with our Center for our instructional design team at the center to make sure that it is a robust course, ADA compliant, all of those hoops.
Excellent. Any other questions for Renee or comments? Ready for a motion?
Go ahead.
This is Debbie Pyle. I move to approve the major curriculum change requested from Barton Community College to transition in URS 1207, mental health nursing 1 from face-to-face to an online format.
Thank you, Deb.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstention. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. We appreciate you coming.
If this
Thanks
goes
for-
well, we'll be back.
Yeah, yes,
To your faculty too.
Thank you for joining us online. Okay, next up, the University of Kansas BSN changes. And I think we have a couple faculty. It starts on page 81. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for coming. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Jessica Brunsman. I'm the traditional BSN program director at the University of Kansas.
My name is Susan Anderson, and I'm the Director of Assessment and Evaluation at the University of Kansas.
Welcome. Thank you for coming over. If you would like to talk a little bit about the changes.
Sure. We're requesting a reduction in our overall program clinical hours from 768 to 720, basing it on a 15-week semester versus a 16-week semester. So faculty and our dean were involved in the discussion and the decision, and the reduction will not impact students' ability to meet learning outcomes. across the program, the clinical courses.
Any questions? If no questions, we go for Susan, comments? We'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the major curriculum change request from the University of Kansas School of Nursing BSN program to change the current clinical hour calculation based on a 16-week semester to a 15-week semester calculation with a change in clinical hours from 768 to 720.
Thank you, Angela.
I'll second.
Thanks, Debbie. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstention. The motion carries. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the University of St. Mary.
Can we stay here with the computer, which might be move up front?
I am okay with you staying here unless anyone on the committee would like you to move. I'm fine with you there, so you don't have to move here. And I'm gonna get my computer to the page.
85 is the start.
Thank you. Would you like to discuss the change?
Sure. Our students are required to take a new 101 or NUAT 101 drug calculations in nursing. Right now, it is an online program, and we feel that it's better for the students if they have the opportunity to ask questions and discuss some of those calculation issues while they're taking it. So that is our motion to change that to a hybrid method.
The committee have any questions for Karen? I can understand why they would want to meet and go over some of those calculations.
And that is a great package that we
Yeah.
are doing to see what.
Yeah. Would you like to make a motion for this?
I move to approve the major curriculum change request from the University of St. Mary BSN program to change the delivery method of NU AT 101 drug calculations and nursing from online to hybrid delivery.
Thank you, Ruth.
A second.
Thank you, Angela. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
I abstain.
Thank you. Karen. Oppose, no, and we have the one abstention. The motion will carry. Thank you, Karen. Oh, the second one. Yes. Okay. Your second one starts on page
98. There's a letter there.
yes.
You might just explain to them what happened.
So in March, we had a new PMHNP concentration approved, as well as the certificate program. The certificate program did not get on the letter of approval, so I need that for CCNE. So no changes. in
Yeah,
this.
no changes on it, but we just missed getting that approval for that piece of it.
The approval of the certificate programs from what we already did in March without
Correct.
the certificate. Thank you, Karen. If there are no questions for Karen, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the major curriculum change request from the University of St. Mary graduate program to approve the new psych mental health nurse practitioner PMHNP concentration at USM.
Certificate, we probably.
Certificate.
Yes. We missed it.
We missed it last time and I missed it.
I'm sure the word certificate is after the PMHNP.
Yeah.
Okay, correct. Thank you, Angela. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ruth. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes. Opposed, no. Abstention. Thank you. The motion carries. Our next is Mid-American Nazarene. We have two. Is there a
think Sarah may be online.
Colton?
Colton, do you see Sarah Miller? Okay, got her.
Thank you. Good morning, Sarah.
Getting there. There she is.
Good morning.
Good morning. If you would like to describe your two requests, I think in my order, the graduate program is first.
Actually, BSN is first
Oh,
on
am I-
page 110.
Sure. Thank you for letting me join online today. I teach pretty soon, so I really appreciate the ability and flexibility. We have, as you probably know, we have a 12-month ABSN program and a 24-month TBSN program. We would like to offer an 18-month ABSN hybrid program. We were approved, I think, at one of the previous meetings for a hybrid approach for our class, our didactic classes. So this would be, all of our didactic coursework would be in the hybrid format online, and then students would come in for all their skills lab, clinical, testing, all of the things that you want to make sure you have eyes on them for, and to make sure they're getting their skills acquired and they're doing so in a way that is of integrity and that they're doing everything correctly. So all those things will be in person. One of the really main benefits of this is that it helps with flexibility for students that need to work or have kids. We have a lot of single parents in our programs. And then it also takes the program from 6 modules to 8. And in doing that, it allows us to take our health restoration clinicals and classes, which are med surg classes, kind of are bigger, heavier classes, to be on their own in a module, which is really helpful for the students because they've given feedback that it's a pretty heavy module for them. So we hope that will be helpful to them as well. We do not plan to ask for additional seats at this time because we're not filling all of our cohorts anyway. So it really wouldn't make sense to ask for more if we're not filling or at capacity. We do anticipate that that might be an issue in the future, and we'll prepare for that accordingly.
Excellent. Any questions from the board or committee? Do you need a okay. Karen,
I move to approve the major curriculum change request from Mid-American Nazarene University School of Nursing BSN program to add an 18-month ABSN hybrid cohort of 25 seats, along with current ABSN and traditional BSN tracks.
thank you, Karen.
I'll second.
Thank you, Debbie. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstentions. The motion carries. Thank you, Sarah, and we'll keep you for the second one, the graduate request, which starts on, I think, 1:14. 1:15. Thank you,
Close.
Janelle.
Yeah, so we started an adult GERA primary care nurse practitioner track and postmaster cert back in like January of 2020, which was a terrible time to start anything. And so we anticipated that we would ramp up starting with 12 students and we'd ramp up to 18 the next semester and then 24. We just never really hit the number that we needed to be sustainable. We did end up finishing 18 students in the program, 16 of which we know have taken boards and passed. 2 kind of fell off of our radar. We've been trying to track them and they are just kind of hard to get a hold of. We did try to add an F&P track in the hopes that adding that would help populate those core courses so that it would be easier to sustain a smaller AGPCNP specialty track. However, our administration denied it at the time, stating that we did not have the funding available to support it. Also, super saturated in the Kansas City area for F&P programs. So it would have been hard, I think, to justify, especially like to NOMP, that we had a need for it. So at this time, we've closed the program. I'm kind of out of order here in how I should have done this, but Janelle has been super helpful. We did teach out all the students. Everybody got the same experience as the previous students. And our last 2 grads finished at the end of August.
Any questions from the committee?
I move to approve the major curriculum change request for Mid-American Nazarene University School of Nursing graduate program to close the AGPCNP program due to insufficient enrollment.
Thank you, Ruth.
I'll second.
Thank you, Debbie. We have a motion and a second. Any comments or discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstention. The motion carries. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay, we finished section A, major curriculum changes. We're on to initial application for program from Chamberlain University. Yes. And then it's just. Okay.
Or 119 is the beginning.
Yes. Several pages long. Good
Yeah.
morning.
Just, I did put in, they have the initial applications, the first maybe 65 to 70 pages, and then the appendices are there. So it was a little bit of reading, but the main part is that first section.
Thank you for coming. We'll take a moment and let you introduce yourself and your role at Chamberlain.
Yes, I'm Dr. Tona Liker, and I am the proposed program administrator, executive dean for the new Overland Park campus. And do you want each of them to introduce?
Yes.
Good morning, I'm Dr. Danica Bowen, I'm the vice president of operations.
Hi, good morning. I'm Dr. Jill Price. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for Chamberlain University.
Okay, so yes, this is initial applications are very lengthy, which we appreciate your level of detail and our level of reading the detail. If you want to go through some of the information with maybe about a 5-minute limit so that we can review, and then if the committee has any questions, we will ask those.
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much for your review and allowing us to be here today. As you know, with me is our Dr. Jill Price and Dr. Danny Bowen, and the audience is Dr. Lindsay, Ms. Lindsay Bradbury, Regional Vice President for Campus Operations, Dr. Anne Marie Mugnana, Director of Regulation and Accreditation, and Ms. Sarah Barclay, Senior Manager for State Licensing and Regulation. Chamberlain is accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. Our last 4-year comprehensive mid-cycle review was in 2019-2020. And the program is accredited by the Commission for Collegiate Nursing Education. Their last visit with CCNE was in March of 2024, where 10 years were granted until December 31st of 2034. Chamberlain University and the Chamberlain Overland Park the campus are approved by the Kansas Creative Regions. So we received that approval. The program that we're asking for is the BSN.
Speak up a little bit. We have a couple people online, and
Sure.
it's a little harder for them to hear you.
Thank you. I'll use my teacher voice.
Yeah, good.
We're asking for a pre-licensure BSN program that is a 3-year, 122 credit program, hybrid day and even weekend option. It was 56 general education credits and 66 nursing credits with 672 clinical hours. We're planning to locate at 6130 Sprint Parkway, Suite 300 in Overland Park, Kansas. The campus is within a 4-story Spira building with Chamberlain occupying space on the 3rd floor. The university's area is 40,465 square feet and includes a general reception area, meeting, conference rooms, administrative staff offices, faculty offices, classrooms, a wet science lab, 2 nursing skills labs, and then the Sim Care Center, which is where simulations are held or will be held. We're asking to start admissions in September of 2025 start admissions in September 2025 with an initial cohort start in January of 2026. We're seeking initial approval for admission of 40 students 3 times a year with an enrollment ramp over the next 10 to 12 years of up to 600 students, what would be 400 day and 200 evening weekend. This campus is most like our flagship campus, which is St. Louis. St. Louis was originally owned by the Deaconess Sisters in St. Louis and founded in 1889 as the Deaconess School of Nursing. It was sold as the last sisters were aging to Ed Townham in 2005. Chamberlain uses a holistic admission process for our students. And we use what is called EDAPT, or an adaptive learning or relearning loops for the curriculum that's built throughout all of the nursing courses, as well as some of the science classes. So with our program, we're requesting hybrid delivery model. And one of the unique things about Chamberlain is that the admission of students, because we provide the gen ed. So when they come to the program, they may come with 0 credit or they may come with transfer credit. So it's 9 semesters long. The first students, even if they came with all of their gen eds, would not go to clinical until May session of 2026. There are two sessions of courses that are specific to Chamberlain they would take first. I think I did that in 5 minutes.
You did. You did an excellent job. Thank you.
We're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Are there questions?
I have a question. You mentioned adaptive learning. I understand the hybrid model. Can you describe that a bit more, how you plan to use that?
Yes, so the adaptive model of relearning is a student is given a concept, and when they're taught when they do the concept, they then answer a question. So it's in bits of information, so small learning chunks.
Yeah.
So they receive a chunk, they take answer a question. If they answer the question correctly, they move on in the concept. If they don't, then it's a relearning loop back to something that they may have missed. And then if they miss that one, it may go back even to their foundational science or A&P course content. And so all of the NR, the nursing courses, are now built in this adaptive learning. So the students do this adaptive learning process as a part of their preparation for class and study.
I have another question. Are you using an external vendor curriculum enrichment package like Lippincott for that, like a platform?
The vendor is
We use Nurse Sync
Okay.
now for clinical judgment exams, but
Okay,
the
clinical
EDAP
judgment.
platform itself, we own that platform and build it.
Thank you.
and there's a team of curricular specialists who
Thank you.
are very familiar with that.
And total clinical hours, I know I've looked at this. In the 122 hours, how many total clinical hours?
672.
672. And with the 10-to-1 ratio for clinical,
Yes, but oftentimes, historically, Chamberlain, they have been smaller based upon what the clinical facility requests. And what is available for students. So we have good, strong clinical support. We have intention to join MOCAN, a bit of communication with MOCAN, and feel like we have strong support. But again, we will do that collaboratively with the clinical agencies. I would say it's rare that it's 1 to 10 anymore. Yeah.
up to 600 students will be a lot of clinical placements in the Kansas City metro area. I know you have letters of support from your clinical agency. At the time of the initial site visit that we'll make, we'll have the letters, we'll make site visits to assure that. I noticed a lot of your letters of support, were these emails from okay, so just in the future, I would recommend the email be attached versus, because it does look like a copy paste into a letter versus a copy of the email.
Just to show where it comes from.
Yes.
The connection.
is there not signed, a few are signed and on letterhead, a few just look like it's copied and pasted from an email onto a Word document. So just as a recommendation, maybe just print the email and scan that over. And we'll get those official contracts when we have our first site visit, so that wouldn't be a problem. Or, well, we'll retire seeing those.
Absolutely.
I know it's very lengthy, a lot of reading that we've done in preparation. Any other questions? On page 119. Meet all the requirements for initial application on page 119. Maybe some questions about the requirements on page 119. Okay.
I did at the time I reviewed it.
Yeah, it's very thorough. I felt like it was on there. Okay. There's no other comments or questions from the committee.
I move to accept the initial application from Chamberlain University for a new pre-licensure BSN program with a site visit to be done prior to approval to admit students.
Thank you, Karen.
I will work with Tom on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, we just have a motion.
Go ahead, Angela.
I'll second. Thank you, Angela. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstentions. The motion carries. And yes, Janelle will work with you on that first site visit. You're fine. It's all good. So thank you very much
Thank
and good luck. Thank you. We now have our education annual report. We are moving quickly. We aren't quite at an hour. Okay to keep moving before we take a break. Okay, we will keep moving and go to the education annual report, which is on page
272.
272 is the start.
Just while you're getting there too, this is again, just the, a copy of the core data, survey that is done, that we are doing in conjunction with NCSBN. They have the core data questions that all the programs answer. This is part of our annual report process. Plus there are additional questions that we ask as well. So what you will see in here, I believe the core survey part, or the core questions, and that's the report that I will probably have for you in March. They are finishing a report of all the programs that are part of this process with them. There are over 19 states that are doing this with them, and they all are doing the core survey. It's all the same for everybody. So we'll be able to look at data from other states that compare how Kansas is doing compared to everybody else with some of these core data questions. And then our additional questions are primarily in the section that follows. We have to do some that are related to our approval by the Department of Education, as well as our regulation, that aren't necessarily covered in the core data survey the same way. So that's why you have, I think it's page 327 that has, that's more the numbers. And I think I put that in the packet from September. So this is the second time you're seeing it, but this is where it kind of goes with what the two sections are. So the core data pieces and then the additional question pieces have more of that, those number information. And I know this is a lot, and you probably already found it, but just one of the things we've talked about before in using the NCSBN report, you know, they did the whole, we have the approval guidelines that they've developed, that they looked at, they did that 5-year look at all programs across the US, and they came up with basically some other ideas besides just pass rates at how we can look at programs for approval Kansas, I will say, was already doing a lot of those things in the way that we manage our site visits. So we were looking at some of them, but what I've done with, what the report does is bring out some of those things that are generally warning signs. And so it brings some of that data to you, and there's a summary table. I think it's on page 324, and basically that summary, there are 3 pages. It has all the programs, and it lists the key quality indicators that came up and the approval guidelines as the things that make the most difference. So that's a good table to kind of summarize everything that's in the previous part, but you can go look at, there's more detail in some of the questions. But I will also just put a small cautionary note too, that even though some of them have key indicators that show that might be considered a warning sign, you have to look at it in kind of in the whole picture, because we do have, was trying to think, there are some of those indicators like the non-accredited. Kansas does not require accreditation. So for us, that particular key indicator may or may not be part of our analysis. So I just wanted to kind of point that out, that even though they've done a good job of starring all the things that where they don't meet, so it gives you a quick way to look at that. Just wanted to point that out. And I don't know if you want anything else in terms of what's in there, but
Yeah, I appreciate the summary on 324 to 326. And when you look at those final numbers on the bottom of 326 that you've done for us,
yes,
that's very helpful. And yes, even though at 45.2 that are not accredited, since it's not a requirement in our state, and
right. And most of those are our PN programs. We at one point had one PN program that was accredited, but we don't have any now. And but most of our RNs are. We do have a couple RN programs that are not, but they have affiliations for their students to move on to BSN with accredited programs. So they've done a good job of making that available.
I have a question on page 326.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's showing North Central Kansas Technical College, maybe it is not accredited, but we are.
Well, at the time of that this was for the 23-24 academic year.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, and yes, there are a couple of things I had questions on too, because some of the. So if you have any questions about anything specific, you can ask, but there were, I think sometimes we're looking at this, it is pretty current because it's July of 23 to June of 24. So everybody's turning in their program reports kind of at the end of that time period. So it's pretty current in terms of but a lot has happened since June, I will tell you.
yeah.
But yeah, so these are numbers that would have been presented then. I kind of looked through, and I think we had 3 programs that had more than 3 key indicators that were issues. And I think Donnelly ADN, Fort Scott, and Flint Hills Tech. And I think those are already things you're already aware of in terms of we've done site visits recently on 2 of those. So I would, unless you have questions.
Thank you. A lot of data. I was impressed. I really didn't have a lot of concerns. I thought it'll be nice to see it when it's comparative to other states.
And I will try to have that in March.
Yes.
I think one other thing I was going to, just because of all the information, I'm trying to see if I have the numbers here. Up here. In the second report, because there's always the question of, we need nurses, you've got to do more. Why aren't you doing more? But what I want to point out from this report is that it shows that our capacity in Kansas is 6,490 nursing student spots. We don't lack for those. But we admitted the program, only 3,377 of those. Some of that is because the applications aren't there. Some of that is because there's not faculty to teach the spots that are there. So those are the things that we've been trying to get. So just for your information, when that's, if you're ever approached as a committee or board member about, why we don't have more, students, a lot of that is not the problem of the capacity. And that, we have programs that are set to take more if they have the applicants, but we do have some struggling to fill the spots that they have been approved for because of the faculty issue. So I just thought those numbers were good to kind of arm you with, to show that, because it seems to be kind of the sticking point with a lot of folks.
Janelle,
Yes.
does it talk about qualified applicants or just general applicants?
In terms of the capacity.
Right.
Or,
Like how
I-
many applicants we're getting?
that is in the report, and I don't have it, I.
That's fine.
I know that just in general, we aren't necessarily seeing a lot of qualified applicants not get a spot. Some of it has to do with where the spots are not where the qualified students are necessarily. So sometimes there's a gap there. But I do know from what we've received from programs that a lot of programs are not. Schools are really pushing them to the programs to admit all the students that apply.
Right.
But we still have those that don't meet criteria. And what's hard to explain to them is when you have those that don't meet criteria, you're going to struggle on the other end. And pretty soon you're going to have a program that doesn't have the pass rates, that doesn't have the key, to kind of keep an eye on some of those other things. So it's not as high as it used to be, Michelle, but we still do have qualified applicants that are not getting in. But I think a lot of that has to do with where they are and where they're willing to go and where the spots are.
I get it. Because I've had to explain to our board that we can't just admit anybody, because then our attrition rate is going to be out of this world. So
Absolutely. And attrition and pass rates are two things that programs are looking at, and with good reason. So
thank you.
yeah, if there's any other data that you want more information about, or that's a great question. I can always do some more research too. And maybe when I bring other program data too, it will help to see the comparison. Maybe we're doing really well compared to some of the other states, but hopefully we'll get to see some of that.
So will Wichita State be added?
Are you missing?
Not on here.
Oh,
I thought maybe I forgot to fill out a report.
maybe you didn't have any, key quality indicators.
Oh,
to,
okay.
If you don't have an X in any of the boxes, you won't be on there.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's a good sign.
Maybe it is.
I will double check that. But I know we have a report from you because you're in the other responses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great
If
question.
you're accredited, you have full approval, you may not have had any of those.
Yeah, which is all a good thing.
Yeah, it is. I'll go with that.
Okay, well,
So the report doesn't have to be approved, but this is where the approval of the programs then would come in after looking at all the data.
yes, a lot of data. I look at total numbers and all the programs, and I feel like we're moving back to the pre-COVID. In all, whether it's ESN, ADN programs, APRN, RNA. I think it all looks like positive to me. So this is where we would actually move for approval of the program. So we have several of those motions. Ask a question about
Of
some.
course, yeah. So I know everyone was expecting to have terrible prices and pass rates with the next gen, and it actually has improved the pass rates, or it appears to have.
Mhm.
Any comment from NSBL?
And CSBN did do, I'll have to see if I can find it. I think it was either an article or a comment. They are continuing to review all those things as they come in, but what they're finding and what they're finding from student comments or those that are taking the exam is the test makes more sense to them. So they feel like the questions are still very valid, but the way they're being asked, they are much more in tune with those case study questions, and because it makes more sense to them to have those questions in a context of how they would care for a patient. So there, obviously with, usually when we have a change in test, we see downward trends. This has been a surprise to a lot of people, but in some ways not a surprise otherwise. I will find the comments because I know that their statisticians and the folks that are working on the NCLEX and what they've done in their first review. I believe there is an article out that came out after the first full year. So I will find that and include that for you all.
I thought the point of that also was to make sure that the students were more ready for practice. And has there been any study on that? Do we have
That I haven't seen anything on.
So we have several program approvals. Some are full approvals for the programs, a few are unconditional. Do we want to pick each one of those separately? Should we do that? Yes, okay, so
I move to reapprove the PN programs on full approval status through December of 25.
thank you, Karen.
I second. This is Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. Okay, we have a motion and a second for the PM programs. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed say no. Abstentions. The motion carries. Thank you. The next one,
I move to reapprove the ADN programs on the full approval status through December of 2025.
thank you, Angela.
I'll second.
Thank you, Debbie. We have a motion and a second for the ABM programs on full approval. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstention. The motion carries. Next is the BSN programs.
I move to reapprove the BSN programs on full approval status through December 2025.
Thank you, Ruth.
A second.
Thank you, Angela. We have a motion and a second on the BSN programs. Any discussions? All in favor signify by saying yes. Opposed, no. Any abstention? The motion carries. Thank you. And then we have our next one.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you.
I move to reapprove the 1 PN program, Mid-America College of Health Sciences, and 3 ADN programs, Donnelly College, Fort Scott Community College, and Seward County Community College, on conditional approval status through December 2025.
Thank you, Debbie.
Second.
Thank you, Karen. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Abstention. Thank you. The motion carries. One more.
I move to reapprove the programs on initial approval status through December of 2025, which include Allied Health Career Training, Galen College ADN, Barclay College BSN, and Ottawa University BSN.
Thank you, Angela.
I'll second.
Thanks, Debbie. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify yes.
Yes. Do I need to explain?
Which reason do you remove that of that? Okay, then I'll say yes. Okay, opposed, no. Abstentions. The motion carries. Okay, we are at 1 hour and about 10 minutes. Are we doing good, or do we want to take a 10-minute break to come back and do our new regulation review processes?
And we'll let you know that those are the last of your regulations, so.
Yes. I can say we are not the first committee to get them all done, but we are either the second or third.
But we are the second highest number.
Yes.
The ones that finished first had like 2 or 3.
Yes. How many total did we have?
We had 27,
27.
25.
So why don't we take a quick break before we get these last few done? Is 10 minutes good to take a break? Okay, so we will reconvene at 9:50. Okay, thank you. we're going to reconvene the education committee and we're going to do the review of the regulation policies, the processes, our last 6. And I believe we have some pre-language there maybe that we need to look at. It starts on page 341. Okay, Janelle is getting them in order. We also have paper copies for those of you up here. You should have a packet of the drafts. So the first one here, I think I'm saying is, yes, on page 331 and is number, I'm sorry, 341 is number 106, KR 60-17-106, clinical resources. So we need to discuss, is the rule and regulation necessary for the implementation and administration of state law? Do we feel that's a yes?
Yes.
Yes. Does the rule and regulation service an identifiable public purpose in support of state law? Yes. Okay. And then, briefly describe how revocation would affect Kansas. Okay. Okay, go ahead. So I have some language that was drafted and I want to thank Patty because she has helped us on the previous 19, 18,
19, 20, whatever.
Yes. In order to provide and verify advanced nursing practice clinical education, this regulation ensures that there is an oversight and proper clinical experiences. This provides a safer nurse for the constituents of Kansas. Do we agree with that language?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we are not revoking. With revocation, required change to law, authorizing no other comments on this one? For discussion? You want to put that in my order? Okay, so we're good with KR 60-17 and 106. We'll actually approve these at the next meeting. So we're looking at the language today. And then at the March meeting, we will go through the approval processes of these. Okay, the next one is KAR 60-17-107, educational facilities. And that one starts on page 346. Yeah, 346, 7, yes. So again, is the rule and regulation necessary for implementation and administration of state law? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Does the rule and regulation service an identifiable public purpose in support of state law? Yeah. Yes. Again, I have some language. In order to provide the constituents of Kansas proper care by advanced practice nurses, it is imperative that structures around the learning environment is conducive to ultimate learning. Are we?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Patty. Okay. Anything additional on 107? If we're good with that language. Okay. On to KAR 60-17-108, student policies.
It's page 347, it starts.
Okay. And the rule again is regulation necessary for implementation and administration of state law. All agree, yes?
Yes.
And does the law and regulation service and identify public purpose in support of state law?
Yes.
Yes. And the language is in order to provide the best care to Kansas constituents by advanced practice nurses, this regulation gives structure to the admitting of students for the programs and ensures structure for their progression. Are we all in agreement? Okay, thank you again, Patty. Okay, we're gonna move on to KAR 60-17-109, which starts on page 350, yes. Yes. And again, the rule and regulation is necessary for the implementation and administration of state law. We all agree, yes? Yeah. Does the rule and regulation serve as an identifiable public purpose in support of state law? Yes. In order to ensure the curriculum and program for advanced practice nurses is of the highest standards, including the faculty and direction, this regulation is necessary. This helps to ultimately circle in the production of competent APRN students for the good of the constituents of Kansas. We all agree? Okay, thank you again, Patty. On to KAR 60-17-110, discontinuation of APRN programs, 353. And is the rule and regulation necessary for the implementation and administration of state law? Yes. Does the rule and regulation serve as an identifiable public purpose in support of the state law? Yes. And the language, in order to maintain safety and stability for advanced practice RNs, a plan for the discontinuation of APRN programs is necessary. We all agree with the language? We are at our very, very last one. Page 356, think through. And this is KAR 60-17-111. Is the rule and regulation necessary for the implementation and administration of state law? Yes. Does the rule and regulation serve as an identifiable public purpose in support of state law? Yes. And in order to retain and bring former APRN nurses back into practice, it is necessary to have a plan in place to give them a refresher course for the re-entry into practice. This helps to ensure the best outcomes for the constituents of Kansas. We all agree with that one. Patty, thank you very much for your assistance in these while you were on the committee and also giving us language to review and consider. We made it through them. All 25 are done, correct?
26 or 27, I can't remember
26 or
anymore.
27, okay. So we are gonna move on. We'll take a moment so we can move on to our petition to test, retest. Eve?
Oh. I had drafted some language, the petition to test retest, that is for those who have not been able to pass their NCLEX exam in the first 24 months. Our regulation says they have 24 months to do that. At the 24-month point, they have to petition the board, and that's it. We've done that as part of consent agenda because I do a lot of the pre-work. You all have set the standard for what that is, what's required that they submit in order for a petition to be approved. And that is they have to be in the 24-month to 5-year. Once they get to the 5-year, the board has put the policy out there that they have to retake their nursing courses after 5 years. So it's one of those things where I'm trying to work with program administrators. It's a tough one to talk about because you want your students to pass NCLEX on the first pass, but they also need to know if they don't, that time is limited, and the sooner they get it done, and if when they wait, they put themselves just at higher risk for. We actually have had, since I've been here 6 years, we have had 2 people complete their nursing courses all again in order to retest, and both were successful in getting a license after they did that, but they put themselves through a lot of. Anyway, the petition process. You put there's a policy in place for that I look at, and then when you come, that's why the recommendations are what they were. Those are ones that you put in place in terms of, those are on the 2 to 3 year status and what they need to do. Anyway, we've had a lot of repetitioners, And so I'm drafting some language. I'm sorry, it's not done with the other reports that came. I have part of it drafted, but I decided, with your permission, hopefully, to have it, I should have it for March, but to do some, a redrafting of that language. And what I want to bring to you is, maybe some, redrafting and looking, I've looked at other policies and what other states require when they have people that get past that, you know, that some cut off at 4 years and, some also allow, I won't go into that, but I would like for you all, what I'm recommending is to relook at what the policy is for what's required when students petition. And if there's any changes that you would like to make to that based on some of the information that I've been able to gather. And so basically it's a permission to go ahead with that in terms of some possible updates to our petition process. If you're okay with that, I will continue to work on that. We're hoping to get that online as well for those that have to do it. The submission can be kind of a pain, to be honest. And there's requirements out there and sometimes they miss those. And so we want to make it really clear. I think it's clear, but they don't always think it's clear. So I'm working on that language as well.
Could we add that? I know it's down on number 8, but adding it to the agenda.
Yes,
for
we
March.
could add it to if I just wanted to make sure that was okay, that was something that you would be willing to look at and reconsider that policy in terms of where we are now in.
We'll look at the policy and you can send us any updates you're considering or draft ahead of time
Yes.
to review.
Yes.
I put a note to add that to the agenda for March. We're all agreeable to that.
So in terms of these people who are petitioning now, since they've now been out 5 years.
Oh, no, the petition, I don't put anybody on the petition summary that's past 5 years. If they are past 5 years, I tell them they are past that point and they have to go, but I said, if you want to retest, you will have to go retake your nursing courses. And what they have to do is they have to then submit a transcript that shows they've retaken. And it depends, if it's a person who was in a BSN program, they don't have a previous license. I mean, then we have the two that have done that were both LPNs that did a bridge program. So they went back and repeated the bridge courses. When you have those from a BSN or traditional ADN who have not completed any of the other, they're repeating more courses. So it is a little, and I don't know, not that it's bad, it's just the way it is, because the other ones already have a license for that first level. They just need to repeat the other. So it's a little tricky for some. And like I said, I don't know that it's bad, but it's just, there might be some other things in terms of what you require. The study plans are all good right now, just what we do. And there's additional study. NCLEX review courses have changed a lot. And getting them to follow the process for what constitutes a formal review. So I want to bring some of that to you to make you more aware of what I'm seeing and whether that's all still acceptable in terms of what they're doing to show that they're ready to retest. And maybe for those who repetition, because we are seeing more repetitions again. Because basically one petition gets them one testing chance. And so if they don't make it, then they're redoing the petition. They have to do, not that it's like maybe you need to slow down, but they're basically doing this exact same thing. So one of the questions is there anything additional if they're a repetitioner, or, you know, is it maybe a different set of conditions or additional recommendations for them? So that's kind of what that's about.
And if you're seeing a trend of increased repetition rates, could you maybe give us a table of that? And do we need to look at where was their initial degree from?
Well, it is one of the things I could go back and look at. And maybe I'm misspeaking. I feel like I'm seeing more I did see more. As we've gone along, I'm seeing new ones again. So it's kind of a cycle, I think. But it's interesting. After the next gen, several of my repetitioners were successful. So that was another thing too, where
I'm surprised.
Yeah, so the statistics will be a little hard because you also throw next gen and know the
It's like, you
change.
have to know where that
Uh,
changed, and if you want me to try and break that down, I will do that.
Not,
To kind of look at, but, or just bring you the petition statistics and kind of look at those
So I would.
from an
Yeah.
overall
I think
perspective.
an overall would be good.
Do you want it for the last 3 years, 5 years? What's the trend you want?
I think so. Then we can look at the impact with next gen and then look if there's trends with different programs.
Okay,
Yeah, probably 5 years would be good.
okay.
Unless you see, as you go to 3 years, that that's really where it changed.
Okay.
Thank you, Chanel.
Yeah, and the,
Certainly.
current policy is
Yes.
everybody knows where to access that, so they can review it.
It is on the
Yeah,
website.
yeah.
I will put it in the packet too, along with, the other things, but it's on the website. It's actually under forms. It's a little bit, when anybody's applying, it's there for them. If it says, if you're past 24 months, click here, and it takes them directly to the petition. But I currently have a petition out there that has all the instructions, and then there's an FAQ document that goes with it, and it's under initial licensure. I can send you all that link if that helps.
It might be helpful to send it, that way
Okay.
we can easily access it.
I will do that.
Thank you very much. Okay,
It's not something you all see very much because
so they're out of our program at that point, so, yes. That would be great. Okay, thank you for the update, Janelle, and the work between now and March, for us to look over that information. I think we can move to unfinished business. We can, we already looked at or discussed Fort Scott with their approval, so we don't need to do that. The LMHT update.
okay, so just, this is just gonna be a verbal, we had done, you all had met, there was a task force assignment looked at LMHT initially, and we brought back some of that information. We did have 2 programs that have since then been, approved. Wichita State is already in process. Theirs is more of a program that moves them through classes that are already existing, so we didn't have to do a site visit for them to start that. All those are in place. They have that process done. WSU Tech will need a site visit because it's a new program, basically. So they have not had any admissions to that one yet. But there was still discussion that those regulations still need to be reviewed. They were in process at the time, that now we would like the task force to take that on. I did some initial research, or tried to do a little bit of background looking at California, Arkansas, and Colorado are the only other 3 states that have anything like LMHT. California's kind of out there on their own. They do something almost completely different. They're not very communicative, and it's really hard to get information. So we haven't really had a lot from them. Arkansas discontinued what they call their licensed site LPTN, licensed psych tech nurse. They actually have it it's a license, but it has a lot of nursing in it, but it also has a lot of psych in it too, kind of like ours. Theirs is a 32 credit hour program. They have discontinued that. So they are like us, their licensees are, because we haven't had anybody in a program for a while, their licensees are starting to diminish. So they haven't done any new work on it, but I got some really good information about, I think about what they do and what their process is, about what that 32 credit hours is. Because when we were looking, that was one of the things that was under discussion, was that our current 450 hours of theory and 450 is a lot. And you put that into a curriculum, because right now we don't have it it's not in a program that gives them any kind of college credit. So when they get that LMHT, they can use it in Kansas for a place that will hire them. But if they want to go back to school in any other kind of healthcare, all that, even the basic work they've done in psych and nursing doesn't give them any credit. So that's what the task force is looking at too. So I think the recommendation last time was that we continue to look at that. And so we would like to either reconvene the task force or ask for additional members. We did, after talking about it too, Dr. Burkhart has a lot of experience previously, and she's agreed to chair that. So because it's a task force and not a public board meeting, we won't have any other committee or board members on that. So most of the information but we'll have a person representing, board. And we're in the process, of either, like I said, whether the recommendation is to reconvene and see if the people that were involved in the initial task force would like to be part of that and how many we should put on there. I think the thing that everybody wanted to look at was getting the regulations. We have some draft language for how those look to make sure that the hours are what we want and that process is what you want in terms of an LMHT program. The discussion too was whether it needed to stay as a license or go to a certification. Colorado was a little bit, they still have two programs that put out text, but the person that was supposed to call me back was out of the office and has not done so. So I'm still trying to get some information about how they, their educational program works. So I could try to bring that, but I guess the request is if you want the task force to continue to work on that, if there's anything specific other than the regulations, that you would like to task them with.
Well, I appreciate Ruth sharing that. I think we all know there's a mental health crisis in Kansas. So looking at this, I think it's helpful. I think it's great that Wichita, can you tell us how many you admitted for your first cohort?
Well, we don't admit cohorts.
Okay,
Because it's just a pathway,
okay.
but I have, 5 students that are starting on the courses they have to take in spring,
Great,
and 5 more that are in the pipeline.
that's wonderful. Nice way to start. Great. And I know Carol probably gets questions about this across the street. Because we know the mental health crisis is discussed a lot there. So I think this will be something positive that if we're reviewing this and looking at options.
And Carol, remind me, was there anything else? Have I missed?
Well, we had kind of talked the exam.
Oh, that's.
I wanted
yes,
to do
that's the other
something with the
piece.
exam, but I will tell you, the LMHTs renew their license every 2 years. However, they don't do it quite like nursing. It is December 31st of even years. I'm looking at Adrian. I'm sure that's correct.
I think it is.
I think it is, but so we will know by the end of December how many we've dropped off because we were sitting at 38 LMHTs.
at 38.
So I would imagine we'll drop some off in this 2-year period. So anyway, but we had talked, the exam probably needs to be looked at, and the way that we're doing the exam right now is paper and pencil.
Yes.
And that's not gonna work when we start having a lot of students. It really, so we were looking at maybe some computerized method or something, and then getting the test updated.
And thank you for reminding me, because that's one of the things I talked to Arkansas about was basically the exam. And in their programs, the schools administered the exams, the finals, and then they let the board know when they completed and were successful. And that's when they were licensed. So I believe it was the same exam. The programs were the ones that developed it. And administered it. So thank you for reminding, because I said, I know we talked to her about more than that, but.
And there are good platforms that universities are using anyway for exam integrity, that could easily be added into those platforms. The other thing that the committee needs to look at is the number of continuing educations per lead, because they have to have as many as a nurse.
Yeah, they do.
That's way too many. You have to have 30 or 32.
30.
Wow.
Yeah, every 2 years. It's like, excuse me, you don't.
It's part of regulation.
Yeah, you can't hardly afford the conferences to do that on what they get paid.
And with this small number in Kansas, I'm doubting many of the CEs can be done.
Yeah.
Here without travel and expenses, so your committee can look at that, or
Right.
task force, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. I think that's part of the reg, looking at the regs too, because that's in right now, the way that is.
Just a lot of hours.
Yes. Okay, So we'll bring back a report. We'll add that to the agenda as well for March, at least an update. I know this is gonna be a process. But yes. Okay. Next, we didn't need to make a motion for that. That's just
That was just,
discussion.
yeah,
Okay.
for you to give us some direction and continue working on it.
Okay, and then next is APRN regulations. Education update was Carol. Oh, I'm sorry, Carol. I don't know why I thought you said Kara.
Okay, if you remember in September, I filled you in on the progress and it was kind of getting stuck going, there's a lot of them, like 101 through 109, these are the undergrad regs. They were kind of getting stuck in the approval process a little bit. And just as a reminder, we're on a timeline for getting these approved because of our application with the US Department of Education to be renewed. They looked at it last year and I was at the meeting and they made it very clear that these have to go through the approval process. And I send an update to them by March. So we were on a tight timeline. And they actually gave us a little bit longer than they were going to because I filled them in on how long it takes to get a regs approved through the state process. There's many steps. And so they were willing to go out 12 months. Well, shortly after the board meeting last time, they showed up approved. And so I've been pushing them forward. Right now, we're in a 60-day public comment period, which we're required to do after they're published in the Kansas Register and all of that. I've received one comment from, I would say, public. And then I presented to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules and Regs across the street. They had no comments. They had some very good questions, but again, they don't really understand nursing real well, but they had some good questions, but they had no comments or anything like that. And right now, the public hearing unfortunately could not be scheduled before the board meeting tomorrow. It is December 17th at 2 p.m. And then the step after that is to get all of the comments that we receive in a packet so that the board can review them. And then at that point, the board makes decisions, whether they want to go ahead and approve those, whether they want to make changes. If they make changes, it starts all over again. That's all I'm saying. So they're going to talk at the board meeting tomorrow. They'll have to do a special board meeting. It can be short, it can be conference call. But to approve these probably shortly after the first of the year, this gives us enough time after the 17th to get the comments together and get a packet out for the board to be able to review these. And then there's a couple of other steps after then, but I think if everything progresses the way that it should, we should get these all the way through the process and have time for me to send an update to the Department of Education by the timeline. So I'm hoping. Other than that, moving it along.
Steady progress.
Steady, yes, finally.
Steady progress.
Steady progress on this. Any questions or comments for Carol about this? Okay, next we are up to our agenda for March of 25. We've already added the NCLEX annual report will be available for us. We will look at the petition re-petition draft. We will look at an update from LMHT task force. Is there anything else we want to add to our agenda for March? Okay, well, I don't want to say that we rushed through anything, but we are done in just short of 2 hours with everybody. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Do we even need a motion to adjourn, Carol? Thank you, Karen. Thank you. I want to wish everybody safe travels and happy holidays. I know for many of you, this is a very busy time with the end of the semester. So take time for yourselves as well. And then we will see you all in March.
See you in a bit.